This is the Apple Watch Ultra 2, and it is the top of the line when it comes to Apple's watch offerings. However, it's already a year old, and the latest Apple press conference came and went, and we didn't get an actual update to this watch, just a new color. So that makes me wonder, is the Apple Watch Ultra 2 still worth it in 2024 going into 2025, or should you grab something else like the Apple Watch Series 10? And in today's video, we're gonna find out. Although the Apple Watch Ultra 2 did not receive a huge upgrade this year, or really any upgrade this year over the original Apple Watch Ultra 2 and even the Apple Watch Ultra 1, it did get a new color. So there's that. It's black. It's cool looking, I guess. It's still an incredibly capable and great overall smartwatch. And there are a lot of things about it that still justify the price increase over the new Series 10, which was just updated, versus this guy, which has been around for a year. First of all, that's the design. In my opinion, as a watch fan, this actually looks sort of like a watch. The regular Apple Watch is cool. I like the way that it looks, but it doesn't look like a regular watch, which for some people is fine, but for me, I really prefer this sort of more interesting and complex look. And the reason it's designed like this is to be more capable for outdoor wear and much more durable overall. The Apple Watch Ultra 2 was specifically made for hiking, for running, for biking, anything that you do in the outdoors, and it was also designed in a way that protects the digital crown, protects some of the buttons on the sides of the device, and also makes it easier to use with gloves. Plus, the actual casing of the Apple Watch Ultra 2 is titanium, which is not only lighter than standard metals used in Apple Watches, but also more durable. And although Apple released a new black version of the Apple Watch Ultra 2 this year, I actually still prefer the natural titanium look. It just makes it look like a very utilitarian, everyday sort of watch. The Apple Watch Ultra 2 features a larger digital crown, so it's easier to use, like I said, with gloves. It's also protected by this crown guard. You've still got the standard Apple Watch button right next to the digital crown, except also in the crown guard. However, on the other side of the watch, you've got an orange action button, which is only available on the Ultra Watch 2. Now, this button is programmable, but it's automatically set to go right into workout mode, which is what I leave it at. It's basically just a shortcut button, but it makes sense for it to be the workout mode button because that's what most people who have an Ultra Watch Ultra 2 would use it for. At least that's what I would assume. I don't know if that's actually the case. Now, one thing that might be a downside for some people and an upside for other people is that the Apple Watch Ultra 2 is the largest Apple Watch. It's thick, it's wide, it's just a bigger Apple Watch than anything else available. And again, the reason for that is functionality, especially when you're wearing gloves. You do get this really nice screen that's actually completely flat, so it's really easy to click around and tap. And up until the Apple Watch Series 10, it was the largest screen that you have on an Apple Watch. But because of all those things, it is the largest Apple Watch out there. And for someone like me with pretty small wrists, it does look a little funny on my wrist. My actual go-to everyday watch, an Oyster Perpetual, is significantly smaller than this. Granted, I grabbed a smaller size. But it looks much more natural on my small wrist than this giant Apple Watch Ultra 2. However, because of the larger size, not only can you feature this, well, at the time, largest screen, but you can also feature a really large battery. In fact, the Apple Watch Ultra 2 has a battery that should last you around 36 hours. Now, that is according to Apple, and that's for standard, everyday, normal use. It can actually go up to 72 hours on standby mode. I found that I was able to get about 2 days of normal usage out of it, which is almost 36 hours, which is pretty decent. I would charge it up every other day while I was showering, and overall, I didn't have any issues with battery life whatsoever over the month that I've owned this. So battery life is a big plus when it comes to the Apple Watch Ultra 2, and it still has the best battery life of any Apple Watch. Another big plus is the screen that we already talked about. At the time when it first released, it was the largest screen. Now, like I mentioned before, the Apple Watch Series 10 is the largest screen. Again, the Apple Watch Ultra screen is flat, which I personally prefer, but it also can get up to 3000 nits of brightness, which is insanely bright for a watch. It also features a sapphire crystal display, which is incredibly durable and is much more durable than the standard display on the standard Apple Watch Series 10. And all around, I'd say that the Apple Watch Ultra 2 is probably the most durable Apple Watch, unless you buy the titanium version of the Series 10. And I know I keep referencing the Series 10 as if you know everything about it, and if you do want to learn more about the Series 10 because you don't know everything about it, make sure to check out my full review of the Apple Watch Series 10 through the links on the top of your screen. But that said, I do think that the Apple Watch Ultra 2 is still the most durable and rugged option out there when it comes to Apple Watches, even compared to the more expensive titanium Apple Watch Series 10. Of course, being an Apple Watch, it features all the great sensors and features and apps that you have come to know and love on Apple Watches. There's nothing about this really that would differentiate it that much from a standard Apple Watch Series 10 in that regard. However, to view all of those apps and features, you are using a slightly older display. This uses an LTPO2 display versus the Apple Watch Series 10's LTPO3 display. But really, the only difference between the older display on the Apple Watch Ultra 2 and the newer display on the Series 10 is frame rate. The Ultra 2 can get down to 10 Hz, whereas the Series 10 can get down to 1 Hz, which means essentially that you're able to see things like the second hand when the watch is in standby mode, which is pretty impressive. So realistically, when you're comparing screens between the Ultra 2 and the Series 10, they're very, very similar. The Series 10 does have a very slightly larger display. However, you don't really notice it that much because the display kind of curves around the edge of the device. The Ultra 2 has a brighter display display at 3000 nits versus 2000 nits. However, it's kind of difficult to see unless you're really outside in direct sunlight. But overall, the screens are pretty similar. But the biggest difference, in my opinion, besides the design, is the price point. And that's probably what will be the deciding factor for most people. The Apple Watch Ultra 2 comes in at a retail price of $799. However, because it is a slightly older watch, you can find the older colorway, the natural titanium, for a bit cheaper on places like Amazon, which is where I got mine for $689. Now, although the Ultra 2 is more expensive than the standard Series 10, every Ultra 2 does come with cellular capability, which you actually have to spend more for on the Series 10. Not only that, every Ultra 2 comes with a sapphire crystal display and a titanium body, making it probably more durable. And I understand that this cool and sleek look of the Series 10 is appealing to a lot of people, but me personally, I prefer the look of the Ultra 2. That said, I think the Series 10 is going to be a much more popular watch because it's a much cheaper watch and it's better than any of the previous series watches before it. The Series 10 is the thinnest Apple Watch yet, and it features the largest screen of any Apple Watch. It has basically every feature that the Ultra 2 has, except it can't go as deep when it comes to diving. I think it's rated for half the distance that this is. It does have a newer and bigger display, although it's not as bright as the Ultra 2. It also has the latest processor, the S10 versus the S9, although there haven't seemed to be many differences between these two processors, at least based on the tests that I've done. I haven't had any slowdowns on either watch. The battery life isn't as good on this. I usually get about a day's worth of wear on this. However, it charges faster if you use the new puck that comes with this Apple Watch. It actually charges up to 80% in 30 minutes, which is incredible. And that's sort of how I ended up using this watch. I charge it every day when I was in the shower versus every other day. So if you want the bigger battery life, Ultra 2 is definitely the way to go because it's basically double the battery life. But like I said, the biggest deciding factor for most people is going to be price, and the Series 10 starts at $399 for the smallest size, which actually is still pretty big at 42 millimeters, and it increases up to 46 millimeters for a little bit more. I think it's $429. And although the cheaper Series 10, or I guess the lower end if you want to call it that, even though it's still a pretty expensive smartwatch, only comes with the less durable display. It's not sapphire crystal glass and comes in aluminum versus titanium, so it probably won't be as durable as the Ultra 2. There is an option to upgrade to the higher end version of the Series 10, which does come in titanium and does come with sapphire crystal and also cellular, but it is going to cost you a good amount more. For the 42 millimeter case size, you're going to spend $699 for the sapphire crystal, the titanium, and the cellular. For the 46 millimeter case size, you're going to spend $749 for those same things, which actually makes this around the same price point as the Ultra 2. In most cases, $50 cheaper, but again, you can probably find this on sale, so it might be a very similar price. And that's where things become really muddy. I think for most people, the Series 10 is probably the way to go, specifically because of the price point and the fact that the actual tech inside this watch is very similar to the Ultra 2. However, if you do a lot of outdoor stuff and you want a very durable watch, rather than spending the extra money on the Series 10 titanium, I would probably go with the Ultra 2 because not only do you get all of that durability and honestly a brighter display, you also get a much larger battery, which for people who go out in like day-long hikes is probably pretty important. So yes, in my opinion, the Apple Watch Ultra 2 is still absolutely worth it in 2024 going into 2025. However, it's only worth it for certain use cases. I think if you're just looking for a great Apple Watch and you want all the features that this guy has, but you want a smaller shape, go with the Apple Watch Series 10. You'll spend half the money. However, if you're someone who really requires a very rugged and durable watch with great battery life, the Ultra 2 really is the only option. And for me personally, I've had both of these watches for a week together and this one for about a month in total. I would still go with the Ultra 2, not just because you can grab it for discounts right now, but also because I just prefer the way that it looks. I think it's a cooler looking watch, and I also kind of like the watch faces better because there are certain watch faces that you can get on the Ultra 2 that you can't get on the Series 10, which I realize is dumb. But that is a deciding factor for people like myself. I hate to admit it, but it's true. But hey, at this point in the video, I would love to know your thoughts on the Apple Watch Ultra 2 and whether you feel like it's still worth it in 2024. Let me know those thoughts in the comment section down below. Also, let me know if you own either one of these watches or even the Series 9. Let me know that in the comment section as well. But guys, thank you so much for watching. Make sure to subscribe if you haven't yet, and I'll see you all in the next one.